無茶な荷造りは
Welcome back, nerds. Fino here with a guide for Santa Nemo. He's the welfare servant for this year's Christmas event. A 4-star rider. That's right. Nemo's ridden twice, and he'll ride again. He also has the greatest extra card animation in the game's history. While he's got things down in the style department, as expected of the captain, let's see if he can hold it down in gameplay. The core of Nemo's kit is his noble phantasm, Holy Land Nautilus. This is an AoE arts attack with a 1-turn skill seal. Its overcharge is anti-evil damage. Couple of things to unpack here. This is a weirdly strong package of effects to have on a welfare noble phantasm. A wide-ranging anti-buff is one thing, but having it scale with overcharge is quite convenient. Even gotcha servants get screwed out of that from time to time. Arts teams are generally quite proficient at generating overcharge, so when you have a relevant matchup, you can do something like layering this behind Castoria's Round of Avalon to get an even bigger kick. As for the skill seal, this can give Nemo a suppressive effect against buff spammers, self-chargers, and other nuisances. On the other hand, it also makes enemies attack instead of potentially wasting actions, so it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Not really relevant for farming, but if you have cause to take Nemo into a boss fight, you can loop it to cause trouble. Speaking of which, good loopers are looking for two things: on-demand charge and steroids. Nemo gets most of his from Nameless Saint. This gives him a 3-turn arts buff and his party 1 hit of evasion and a flat 10% battery. You'll want to level this first for arts performance. The battery being stuck at 10% is unfortunate, but thankfully, arts is the most forgiving card type when it comes to weak batteries. That said, you don't want to push your luck too far in that department, so I'd recommend grabbing a Pen 2 for starting charge as quickly as possible. Nemo's other relevant buff is Holy Knight Driver. This gives 1-turn buffs for party NP damage, party crit damage, and party attack. It also gives a 3-turn attack buff to group servants. Well, that works out, right? The Nautilus is like a Nemo Pinata. Nope. For whatever reason, Nemo doesn't count as a group servant, so he doesn't get his own buff. So for his own purposes, this is effectively a single turn effect. You'd want to save it for turn 3 anyway, since the most resilient enemies reside there, but it sucks that you can't even cash it in for more consistent value. But wait a second, if Nemo isn't a group servant, what is? Some highlights include asymmetrical docking, Huang Fei Hu, domestic violence, the fastest asshole east of the Mississippi, and both versions of Ryoma. That's the most promising lead here. Not only are both he and Nemo art servants, but his rider form lines up both class-wise and complements Nemo's AoE with a single target noble phantasm. The guy even has his own party battery to help out, so you can actually jury-rig a rudimentary multi-core team with Nemo, Ryoma, and a borrowed Castoria. Odds are you'll need to swap in a second charger though, preferably a second Castoria if you have one of your own. Both of these servants are available through evocation, Ryoma on both servers and Nemo in April 2027 if you missed his initial release. Unfortunately, while Nemo's event free quests are available to new players, the story portion that you get him through is locked behind Trom. Strategically, this is a terrible spot to be in, since you have to clear Lost Belt 6, Avalon Lafay to get to this point, and doing so unlocks Habitrot in the Friend Point Gacha. She's another AoE arts rider, and while neither her burst damage nor her hit count match up to Nemo, she has a crazy 80% battery in comparison to Nemo's dinky 10%er. This combined with her self-destruct skill gives you a lot of flexibility in team building. That said, Habitrot takes an extreme number of friend points to power up, so if you're still progressing through the Lost Belts, there's going to be a window where Nemo's convenience is going to give you better value. And once he becomes evocable, he's one of the better options for newer players to pick up as an early to mid-game looper. To this end, you can pair him up with the veritable plasma pistol and magnum of FGO, Castoria and Jufu. The former you get off your friends list, the latter will find you in short order. She's the only general pool alter ego, so unless you see someone else on your banner of choice, you can tell from the card back. And of course, you can run the free waiver as a supplementary charger, in combination with the Chaldea Combat Uniform if you're evoking him, or if you're using him on release, the Decisive Battle Uniform. Down the road, you can sub out Jufu for your own Castoria, and waiver for Oberon if the fight needs extra oomph. The usual game plan. If you're fighting trivial enemies and want to go swapless, other viable Mystic codes include Fragment of 2004, and my personal favorite for the discerning arts looper, Summer Streetwear. For other equipment, you don't really need command codes on the guy. If you take him into a boss, you can always tailor your picks around mechanics. But aside from that, I think all the super generic codes like Da Vinci would be better served on other attackers, especially if you plan to go multi-core. As for craft essences, I'd recommend the usual arts path. Ocean Flyer or its closest equivalent going into Black Grail is your endgame pick. Unless charge becomes an issue, in which case you go back to Ocean Flyer. As a rider, Nemo also has access to Origin Bullet as a strong generic option. While not as strong as Black Rail for raw NP damage, Origin Bullet's anti-caster buff does extend onto Nemo's regular cards, and its Invuln Pierce is tactically useful. Nemo has one other skill, Persistent Delivery Person. This is a 3-turn debuff immunity effect that also grants him 10% charge per turn and a guts that scales off skill level. For farming purposes, this does the same thing at level 1 as it does at level 10, so you can leave it at factory default for the most part. If you plan to take him into boss fights, the other effects can be relevant, but as you've seen, Nemo is mostly a farmer. If they wanted to make him an anti-evil boss killer, they should have made him single target. So all this personal utility comes off as wishy-washy. Santa Nemo is an oddball servant. He has individually powerful tools that don't really coalesce into a single purpose. He just dabbles in a lot of different areas, so while you can do a little bossing here and there, he ultimately just becomes a generic farming rider that can slot into some niche combos with servants like Ryoma. An economical servant, but one you probably want to replace for serious endgame activities. But you know, he is a free servant. And next year you're gonna find out they can do a lot worse when it comes to Santa's servants. Thanks for watching. Like if you found this video helpful, subscribe for more, and come watch me at twitch.tv/Finotaisen where I stream every weekend, 3 PM Pacific time. This week I've got Fate Extra CCC on Friday, I believe the Meltverless arc is up next, a special Kusuge Carnival for Obnoxious Games on Saturday, and FGO on Sunday. Maybe a little other gacha depending on what's going on. I'm wrapping up for an exciting finish to the year, so stop by and hang out. See you there.